Alright, guys, I'm still not feeling the greatest, but I just figured that I'd post a video just to prove that I'm not dead, and I figured I just ordered some stuff from magicofthebear.com again, and I figured that I'd show you what I got. Got a decent amount of stuff here. Looks like they put the whole order in a bag. As you can see, I got some frankincense for the Libanomancy videos that I'm going to do, and there's at least part of the container. And yes, it was indeed my whole order. This is a brass incense burner. The frankincense. I got a red jasper necklace of decent size. And a selenite pyramid, because I needed some selenite, and I figured that I might as well go the extra mile with it. I appreciate everyone for watching. I'll be sure to start the Libanomancy videos soon. Alright, so my next few videos on Libanomancy are going to be about the 16 irrefutable interpretations that the Babylonians had on how the smoke interacted and what those interactions mean. Now, the 16 widely known ones were found in a tablet that was found by Irving Linkle, which I mentioned before. And... hi, puppy. Come here. And those interpretations are going to be the irrefutable ones that I focus on. I did find other interpretations, but nothing that specifically said... like, they didn't really have any sources to them, so I'm going to only focus on the 16 for now. I hope they're as informative as my other videos have been. Thank you so much for watching. Excuse all of this, I just woke up. Alright, so I'm going to be doing Libanomancy videos soon, and I just figured that, I promised Wednesday, but I got busy again. It's now Friday, so I figured I'd at least pull up a short video about at least something to do with Libanomancy. Now, Libanomancy, traditionally, you want to face the cardinal direction east. And there's a lot of reasons for this. Obviously, Shamash, who is the god associated with divination, is also the god of the sun, which rises in the east. In many different spiritualities, east is a direction specifically associated with knowledge and the gathering of such. So yes, if you yourself want to be a Libanomancer, and at least in the traditional sense, figure out where east is and set everything... Finishing up my notes on Libanomancy. I figured that I'd start doing videos. Now, the first interpretation that you can find on the tablet is that if when you sprinkle incense and its flame burns smokily, your army will defeat an enemy. Now, obviously, the majority of us don't have armies to worry about, and depending on how literal this translation is supposed to be, because again, there's only 16 surviving from the Babylonian tradition. But in a modern context, I can see this being interpreted as you will overcome an obstacle with aid. Now, the second one, interpretation, is basically just is the reverse meaning, and it is if when you sprinkle the incense it stops short and then burns smokily, so there's a delay in its smoke, and that means that your army will be over. Alright, the third interpretation of the Babylonian tablet is if when you sprinkle the incense the smoke goes to its right and not its left, you will prevail over your adversary. And the fourth is, if the smoke goes to the left and not its right, your adversary will prevail over you. This is, in my mind, specifically talking about either overcoming your obstacles or obstacles overcoming you of your own power. Obviously, with the specific earlier interpretations, meaning if you had help. There's a decent amount of discussion about this because it specifically says it's right, which may mean either the diviners or the incense burners, and there's not really a consensus on that, so that's going to be up to personal gnosis and what you specifically think about it, especially if you see when I'm done with all these and I'll have a video that just has all of these written together. Thank you for watching. I'll do more tomorrow. So the fifth Libanomancy interpretation is if when you sprinkle the incense and it goes to the east, so in this case it's going away from you, and not towards the crotch of the diviner, yes, that is the exact wording, it predicts the downfall of your adversary, and the sixth is the reverse of that. If it goes towards the crotch of the diviner and not to the east, that the adversary will prevail over you. About half of everything that I've found basically says that this is what's going to happen with divine aid. So the sixth interpretation says that the obstacle may be impassable even with divine aid. The other half seem to believe that this is what's going to happen if nothing changes, if you do not seek out aid, if you do not seek divine intervention in this case. And ultimately, that is going to be up to you. I do believe that most cases do specifically state divine intervention, but... Alright, part 4 of the actual Libanomancy interpretation videos, and this is the 7th interpretation. If when you sprinkle the incense and the smoke goes equally in all directions, all sides have equal weapons. Now, personally, I view this as thinking about it as a situation, and this interpretation is about either saying that the situation will remain the same, or if you have, say, an adversary or some other form of obstacle, that it's more than likely a stalemate. And that's pretty much it for the number 7. I promise I'm going to be doing these more often and more continuous, and I'll be sure to finish them. So the 8th Babylonian interpretation in Libanomancy is, if when you sprinkle the incense the smoke clusters, the man will enjoy profit wherever he goes. I choose to view this as ventures, whether it's indeed financial ventures or, new personal or interpersonal relationships. And the 9th is, if the top of the smoke is fragmented, there will be financial loss and loss of cattle on the man's estate. So this one's about being very wary of new ventures, maybe to not so trust the motives of others and to be very careful about your spending habits. Now, of course, you have to remember that Babylon was one of the first civilizations, so economic things were very important, so there's a good chance this is purely an economic one. This is just how I view it, because you have to remember, especially early on, it was priests who was doing magic, not necessarily non-lay people like the majority of us. Thank you.
Alright, I obviously had a good time last night, but I figured I'm on a roll, so I might as well keep doing my Libanomancy videos. And the 10th interpretation is that if the smoke rises and is cleft in two, that it's a sign of madness. Now, my personal interpretation is this is not necessarily like madness as in interpreting that you or something around you is crazy. It's interpreting that there's chaotic energies that are about to come out of it. Yeah, well, I'm gonna go hydrate and see if I could feel a little bit better. I hope this was entertaining, and I hope this is clear. If not, I just woke up, so I apologize if it's unclear. Thank you for watching.
Alright, so the 11th interpretation is, if the top of the smoke is cut off, the man will experience hard times. That one's fairly self-explanatory. It's vague enough without referencing anything else that it just means that it's going to be a very difficult time for you. And the 12th is, if the top of the smoke looks like the brick basket of Shamash, which, if you look this up, there's a lot of images of Shamash holding a brick basket. It's effectively just looks like an old-style large basket. There will be, and I'm probably going to butcher this pronunciation, a disease in the man's household. So the 12th interpretation, to me, is about paying close personal attention to the personal health of yourself and loved ones, which right now might be a good one to look. The 13th Babylonian interpretation, I'm having trouble Englishing today, is if the top of the smoke gathers like a date palm, which was a native palm tree to the region, and is thin at its base, hardship will seize the man. In this interpretation, specifically because of the word seize, like that's a very strong word, I believe that means that many hardships will seize the person at once. And the 14th interpretation is, if the smoke after a while is constricted, hard times will befall the man. Now this says befall the man, so it's very similar, but since befall isn't as strong of a word, I personally choose to interpret this as difficulties will come, but it will be in a slow and steady fashion and not all at once. Thank you. I've been avoiding doing this video because the last two, the Babylonian interpretations, sound kind of similar, but we'll see how this goes. The 15th is, if the smoke after a while pushes through and escapes, the man will pull through hard times, which is the situation will improve from the man's, or rather the person's asking own efforts. And the 16th, the final one, is if the smoke pushes through to the east and escapes, the man will pull through hard times. See what I mean here? I choose to believe that this will be with help, whether it's through friends or divine help. Again, these are the only surviving